Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time, this is Memorial Day. And as a Memorial Day special, I thought I would take a look at a baker's dozen of war comics in commemoration of all our fallen soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines throughout American history, as well as all our veterans who have served in one capacity or another in combat, in support, or in peacetime, such as myself, my father, my stepfather, my brother, two stepbrothers, and I think 4 uncles. And when I was growing up, when I was a kid, it was unusual to come across a man who had not served. I had one uncle who did not serve just because of age during the time of World War II, and then he was never called up for Korea. But all the others had served in World War II, or Vietnam, or other war or peacetime service. In my case, it was Cold War, and it was, believe me, it was cold. It was either chasing or running from Russian submarines, man. And as boring as some of that sounds, it was punctuated by moments of sheer terror just by operating under the circumstances that we were in. So, here, that's some classic war comics. Maybe some less than classic. Let's start with Our Army at War, number 87. This is from 1959 with this Russ Heath drawn cover. My chute's dragging me to the tank. And here's a little blurb. Calling Easy Company, a new Easy Company story, and other explosive battle action stories. Okay. And remember, at this time, while Sergeant Rock was the sergeant in charge of Easy Company, the stories were not necessarily Sergeant Rock stories, although it was Sergeant Rock telling the story, telling about the men of Easy Company. Calling Easy Company. Joe Kubert art. Probably Robert Kanigher writing it. Of course, as I said, this was 59, and this is a little story about a new replacement. It's often about replacements and his bravery and ultimate self-sacrifice to save other members of his company, of his unit. And that's good. Followed by Tiger Twister. Now this is a story. This is about against a Tiger tank. American soldiers against a Tiger tank. Now the one thing that might be unusual to you, if you don't already know, this is art from Mort Drucker. Some great Mort Drucker art. Now Mort Drucker is best known for his caricature artwork done for Mad Magazine in the 60s and 70s. But before that, he drew regular comic books, and most specifically war comics. and A Worm's Eye War. This is drawn by Russ Heath, and it's some great work in here. This is the one, the lead story from the cover, and some really great and heroic stuff. Then we have, this is from 70s, I'm not sure what year, Our Army at War. This is when the lead was Sergeant Rock himself. He was Sergeant Rock of Easy Company, but less focus on Easy Company, more focus on Sergeant Rock. And in my opinion, Sergeant Rock is probably the best comic book war character. I think one of the important things to note about DC Comics, not so much in this first one I showed, but later on, they would end their stories, instead of just saying the end, they put "Make War No More" for their end. Remember, and at this time, a lot of the creators had been involved in some capacity during World War II. A lot of the artists, writers, etc. Like Joe Kubert, Jack Kirby. He was probably one of the creators who was most intimate. He was right in the thick of combat during World War II. And that was later reflected on some of his work. Here we have 253 of Our Army at War, featuring Sergeant Rock, and as the most of the DC war comics were very grounded, but they often had very fantastical elements. And this is only a minor bit of fantastical element, insofar as the Iron, featuring their enemy, the Iron Major. This cover by Joe Kubert. Can rock be broken by iron? He's the Iron Major. He has an iron hand. That's not nearly as fantastical as the haunted tank stories with the robot or cyborg tank commander, and etc. So, Our Army at War, Sergeant Rock, and this is also by Russ Heath, and this one is really good, in the Grotto of Death, with the Iron Major and Rock go head to head with flashes back. Now, and Sergeant Rock and other DC war comic stories were often very, very poignant, especially stuff like the USS Stevenson, which was done by Sam Glanzman, written and drawn, and it was drawn from his personal experiences on board the ship, the USS Stevens, or Stevens or Stevenson, I can't remember, during the war. And we have flashback on some great art, great storytelling, and then it goes up to War Gallery. This is the Bengal Lancers in India, and they often have stuff like Battle Album and other things, talking about equipment, aircraft, and circumstances, weapons, etc. And that's a good one, Sergeant Rock. And here I won't. Sergeant Rock, Our Army at War, featuring Sergeant Rock, 270, still only 20 cents. And this is when Rock is in a position where he to spare a man, he may have to kill him out of mercy. And I'm sure that is a situation that cropped up many, many times through World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and conflicts since then. But they have very touching, very poignant stories. That's why I think overall the DC war comics were the best as far as war comics go, because it displayed both the bravery and the glory, the ignominy, and the poignancy and the sorrow that is involved in these conflicts. Here we have Our Army at War, number 271. Still, Sergeant Rock has Battle Harvest, gut-grabbing combat saga. Trying to take down a Nazi bomber. Then we're skipping a few years here in Darkest Night. This is when Our Army at War had changed to just Sergeant Rock, and it had usually had a single lead story and sometimes a backup story. So Sergeant Rock, this is 354. Then we skip again to 1982, Sergeant Rock Annual number 2, Joe Kubert cover. This has had different artists, but this is reminiscent of the Clint Eastwood movie Where Eagles Dare. Then again, Sergeant Rock 399. Sergeant Rock is dead. Well, apparently not, but someone, presumably Rock, right up against these Nazi soldiers. Then we go, as I said, sometimes diverging into the fantastical. Here it is, right here, in G.I. War Tales, and this is featuring a story from the series that they called The War That Time Forgot, in which their South Pacific island that is overrun with dinosaurs, grossly exaggerated, large and powerful dinosaurs, but they were great stories. I have the Showcase Presents Volume 1 of it, and but as a kid, I loved these. Of course, all kids love dinosaurs. Kids like war books. You put them together. Exploding battle action. Then, of course, the backup stories were more conventional. Don't Miss the Killing Ground, and this is kind of a nod to the Navy. It was mostly Marines and Navy in these stories, but not exclusively. Just being in the South Pacific, and this is to a PT boat, because of a PT boat, and they have to take out this dino to survive. Then we go to Charlton Comics, who had many good war comics. This is from, I think, 1969. Army War Heroes, featuring the Iron Corporal, The Mission, Something Worth Fighting For. And of course, this lead story, anyway, is drawn by Sam Glanzman, who did a lot of war stories for both DC and Charlton, and non-war stories for Dell as well. And one thing is that the character they called the Iron Corporal, and I'm still not sure, other than because he had bits of iron implanted in him to replace some bone or something like that. That's why he got the nickname Iron Corporal, as I understand it. But he was actually an Australian. This is Australian soldiers. Then World at War. That was issue 33 from 1969. This is World at War, or just War, number 11 from Charlton Comics. This is from 1979, and some good battle action here, right on the cover. And then, with a nod to the Navy, this is issue 15, also from 1979, of Charlton's War. This is involving Navy ships and sailors and frogmen in combat. That was good. Then we go to Marvel Comics. Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, number 97, Till the Last Man Shall Fall. I think I may have done an in-depth on this one. I'm not sure. I just remember reading it, but I'm not sure if it was this one or the next one that I had done. This is and this is from what, 73, 72. Art written by Gary Friedrich and drawn by Dick Ayers. I really like Dick Ayers' stuff on the westerns and the war comics, and who Jim Mooney did the inking. He's a very accomplished, great artist in his own right, and did a great job on the inks. But for this stuff, I simply prefer John Severin, who did the cover. John Severin inks on Dick Ayers pencils, or just John Severin's art all around. But either is it's all good, all good. We all know Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, and I don't even see Fury in this at all so far. And finally, it's mostly about the Howling Commandos. And then we finish up with 162 of Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. And this has the interior art by Dick Ayers and John Severin, and with the Severin, I think it looks like a complete Severin cover. I think this other one is as well. It doesn't look so much like Dick Ayers did the pencils. And that's some really, really great stuff. And will be our conclusion. And I want to thank you all for joining me here for this Memorial Day acknowledgement. Of our veterans and fallen heroes throughout the American history. And thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe, and do leave your comments down below. Did you serve, or do you have a family member or a close friend or someone significant in your life who served in some capacity in the military or even adjacent? Or someone, or lost someone from one of those, or was severely injured, lost a limb, what have you. Let me know in the comments below. And thank you for joining me. And remember, even in the midst of battle, comics are art.